Moneycontrol. My name is Shraddha Sharma and this is Reporter's Take. In the recent time, there has been a lot of discussion around the quality and safety of generic drugs. We have Moneycontrol's Viswanath joining us to give us more details on that. Hi Viswanath, welcome to the show.
Hi Shraddha.
First, help us understand what are generic drugs.
Well, Shraddha, generic drugs are nothing but the exact copies of the original drugs. I mean, original drugs means here the patented or the branded drugs.
Right.
So, I mean, the current discussion about the quality and safety concerns of generic drugs comes from this book that has
Right.
come out last year, written by American author and journalist called Catherine Iban. So, in a book titled The Bottle of Lies, the inside story of the generic drug boom, she discusses in detail about the various, compliance issues in Indian generic drug companies like Ranbaxy, Wockhardt. And I mean, she gives a dramatic account of like how the USFDA inspectors inspect, and she mentions about Peter Barker, who created a kind of a horror in Indian companies.
Right.
When he comes to when this inspector comes to an inspection, it was like a tough one. So about the data integrity issues and all that. So that has raised this whole issue about the generic drugs.
All right. So you were telling me that since these are generic drugs are exact copies of patented or branded drugs, they should work in the same way. But then where does the quality issue comes from?
So a generic drug is not just equivalent. There's a small test called BIBE. So that it's called bioavailability and bioequivalence test. So that demonstrates that this works as same as the original drug. So now this whole I mean, you asked about like what why is this concern? So I mean, technically or theoretically, generic drug should I mean, is supposed to work as the original drug, but the problem comes in when companies take shortcuts in manufacturing, or they don't follow compliance of current good manufacturing practices laid down by the global regulators. So because of this, in India we see substandard drugs, which mean that the active ingredient that lends the efficacy for the drug is lesser than what it should be.
Right.
And spurious drugs, these drugs are nothing but the dummy pills. And third is like we see irrational combinations of drugs, like 3 or 4 cocktail drugs,
Right.
which are not tested properly, and they are there in the market. So all these tendencies we see because of lack of oversight from the regulators and the companies willingness to take shortcuts.
Right. So basically you said that quality concerns arise from shortcuts taken by the company in the manufacturing process, while guidelines like a sterile environment are not followed. But then what do you think should be the remedy to this problem?
So the remedy is better regulation, better supervision, and we also see the Indian regulatory system is a maze. We have the state regulators and the central regulators. The state regulators are empowered to give manufacturing licenses.
Right.
So there is lack of coordination among the regulators, and all this leads to a bad regulation or lack of oversight. So because of this, we see all these tendencies coming in, and also the regulator needs to, we need to train people to do inspections. And also the regulator should, ensure that there are surprise inspections so that they can caught these people red-handedly, and and there should be punishments given to the people who are not following regulatory standards laid by the regulator. So all these things will improve the regulation in our country, but so far we are taking baby steps in that direction.
All right, so you highlighted some major concerns in the pharma industry and hope there is better supervision and administration in that front. Thank you, Viswanath, for joining us. That's all for today's episode of Reporter's Take. For more news, views and updates, stay logged on to moneycontrol.com.